Hi, hello, welcome to my channel. Today I've got a little bit of a chatty video for you. It's not a vlog because I don't have any behind the scenes footage of my first 2 weeks back at school. It was just too busy for me to even think about doing something like that, but it is Sunday the 20th of September today, and I've completed my first 2 weeks of a full timetable cycle. And I thought I would sit down and just sort of share what that experience has been like, reflect a little bit on things that have gone well, things that I struggled with, things I want to focus on in the future. So yeah, if you want to join me, grab a cup of tea or a coffee or whatever you want to drink, and let's get into the video. I've actually got a yogi tea with me today. I love these because they always have a nice little message on them. This one says, "Love your soul." It's my first time having it actually, and it smells so good, so refreshing. It's a green tea matcha blend with lemongrass and lime. So yeah, really looking forward to having this, and let's get into the video. So I guess it would be useful maybe to explain how my school has adapted to the government regulations here in the UK. If you're not really familiar, in the UK schools have, gone back, they're fully open during COVID-19 outbreak at the moment. So even though schools were locked down for a number of months, so from March to July, and then students had the summer off, now that it's September, students have been welcomed back. Any students who show symptoms, or whose family or relatives have symptoms that they live with, then they have to self-isolate and therefore not come into school. And for those students, we still need to provide learning materials, so we do that through Google Classroom, which is a great platform and super easy to use actually. But for the most part, all of our students have returned. They have returned in these bubbles. This is the government word for reducing the risk of transmission. So instead of having the whole group of students in a school mingling together, sharing the same space, students are allocated to a particular bubble. Now in my school, teachers move around all bubbles, and so we actually have to move, and we have a higher risk of getting infected, I guess. But students have that minimised. So there are particular locations within the school that the students go to, particular classrooms that they are, most of the time in. I think it's a handful of classrooms actually for each bubble, and then they also have a staggered start time and a finish time to the school day. So I really like that, to be honest. I think it makes it much easier for students, and I think it's safer for them as well. And actually for me as a teacher, I teach across 4 different bubbles. I feel fine. I maintain socially distant to the students, and I don't necessarily feel that I'm being hindered by this. The one thing that I did notice is I feel really tired at the end of the day from walking around the school site and making sure that I'm at the right place. I get confused quite easily, so that's been something that I've had to get my head around and try to memorize. I'm in this room, then I'm going to be in that one, and just moving all the time. So in a gist, that's sort of how my school has adapted to COVID-19. They haven't stipulated necessarily that we can't do this or we can't do that with our teaching practice. They've given us a bit of a guideline that we should teach predominantly from the front of the classroom and maintain about 1 to 2 meters socially distant from the students, but I find that particularly difficult. I teach lots of mixed ability, lower set students, and so I need to make sure I'm differentiating and really sort of getting into the class and making sure everyone's doing what they are doing, and I find that really difficult from the front. So that's something I'm quite keen to experiment, play around with, see what works, what doesn't work. It's a learning curve. So if you've got some ideas, actually do share it down below of what has worked for you, if it's something that you've been trying, because I'd really like a little bit of support with that actually. And we can use worksheets and print resources and hand those out still. So I think that's sort of eased the the workload burden actually with lesson planning, because I can just use stuff that I've used in the past and continue to teach in that form, but just include a lot more AFL and formative assessment, because I need to make sure I know where students are at. So I've included lots of like starter quizzes, mid-lesson progress questions, lots of true and false, thumbs up, thumbs down, RAG rating. I've been using my visualizer a lot, and I think it's worked really well because students enjoy the pace of the lesson a lot more, because if they're doing lots of AFL throughout the lesson, they know where they're at. They know if they've understood it, if they haven't, what they're missing, what they need to pay more attention on. So I've loved that, and that's something I'm going to keep focusing on and try to include a lot more. I think the other thing though was my school has been sort of using the Rosenshine's principles. I think lots of schools are doing this currently as CPD. There's a really great YouTube playlist channel, I'll link it in the description box, that just has 20 to 30 minute videos, and you can just watch them. I think there are 6 of them. I think I'm halfway through it, and it gives you just really easy, manageable actions to do with Rosenshine's principles, and it's just focused on how you can sequence the lessons, how you can maintain progress of students, how you can use modelling, retrieval practice, and that's given me a lot of food for thought these 2 weeks, and I've already implemented a lot of the actions from these videos and from that book, and it's really helped to close the gaps in students' learning, but also to promote progress and confidence and engagement. Tea break! So yeah, I think in terms of schools being very specific with how you need to teach during this time, I'd love to know how it is in your school, and you know, if it's any different to what I've been experiencing, which I imagine it must be, because not every school works in the same way. But I think on the whole I'm quite happy with how the school has addressed these particular issues. One of the things that I was a little bit worried about was the fact that the school is not setting any detentions or allowing teachers to do that. So I was a little bit stuck with my behaviour management, because I used to rely quite heavily on keeping students behind, talking to them, having those restorative conversations, allowing them to complete the work after the lesson is finished or during a detention time, and not having that as something that I could fall back on, I was worried about. So behaviour management has been something that I've been focusing quite a lot on. All of my classes, the very first lesson, I spoke through my vision for, you know, our relationship and our time together as a class, what things I would want to do for them as a teacher, some of our classroom rules. I spoke through them, and the response was fairly positive. I think most students accepted it once they realised that it was coming from a place that I cared about them and I wanted them to progress and enjoy science and do the best that they could do, and that the things that I was going to be teaching them in lessons they could actually transfer to other subjects, and that I didn't want to, you know, burden them with a lot of homework. I wanted the homework to be purposeful, so if I was setting it, I wanted them to understand it's going to be needed for the next lesson, or it's going to be a quick check of what you know, so I can then plan lessons in the future and help you even more. So I think selling it that way made the majority of students sort of, you know, on board with it. I did have a few students give me a bit of backlash, and they questioned things and they were testing a few of the boundaries, but I just try to maintain it quite positive, quite encouraging, and not really dwell on that and just sort of move on with the lesson. And I'm at the stage now where I need to make sure I've followed through with some of the sanctions. So if I've said that I'm emailing home because they haven't done their homework, I need to make sure I email home. If I've explained to them that they can't talk over me, I need to make sure I follow that through. So that's where I'm at right now with my classes. On the whole, they've all responded really well, they've all been behaving fairly well, they've all been engaged. I've got just, I think, maybe 5 to 10 students collectively across all of my classes that are starting to raise a few concerns, and I need to address it now rather than wait for it to escalate. So that's where I'm at right now. We'll see how it goes in the future. Now, in terms of lesson planning, I did a bit of lesson planning over the summer. You've seen some of my vlogs, you've seen my medium-term plans, but I realised I had overplanned massively for my year 10 and year 11 classes. So it's meant that actually I haven't really needed to plan that much, because what I had planned has lasted me a while. And what year 10 is currently doing, year 11 is going to do in a week's time from now. And what year 11 is currently just finished, year 10 is going to be doing next. So what I planned for year 11 I can use with year 10, what I planned for year 10 I can use with year 11. So my lesson planning workload is reduced at the moment, and it means I can spend a lot more time on A-level planning, which actually makes up about half of my timetable at the moment. And it is pretty time consuming because I've had to really tweak my previous lesson resources, because students have a lot more gaps in their knowledge. My class size is much bigger, so I need to cater for a wide variety of students. You know, they're all a little bit different, and I need to make sure I've got enough practice questions, that there's enough content to get through in each lesson, that I don't fall behind, but that I'm also working at the right pace for them. So I think on the whole lesson planning is going well. I do want to try and find a few more ways of being more engaging with them. But like I said, with the whole AFL, that's really supported me, and I think I want to keep doing that, and then maybe find some more innovative ways of teaching different materials without having to rely on, you know, being in close contact with students and promoting group work and rearranging them, which is something I used to do quite a lot. So they're limited to working with the person next to them without moving from their seats. I'm going to try and research a few different strategies and use a few and see what works and what doesn't work, and go from there, I guess. Now, my school day actually looks really different from last year, with the staggered times of the day for the different bubbles. I have been allocated to a later timetable, so for the older students, staggered times. So my day starts a little bit later and finishes a bit later, but I quite like it because it means I've got the morning, sort of a couple of hours in the morning before 9:30 to just get ready for the day and make sure I sort of keep on top of my workload. But it's taken me a while to get used to that, because I was used to doing that bit of work at the end of the day, and I think I had the adrenaline at that point to get those things done, and now I need to force myself to do those things in the morning, which is just it's a different pace, I guess. But I've had lots of admin to do in the day, lots of updating lesson resources, printing stuff, uploading it onto Google Classroom for students who are absent, setting homework, doing a homework check to make sure I've logged who's completed the homework and who hasn't, so I can email home. Lots of little bits like that, like sorting out emails that are coming in from my new tutor group, from their parents, CPD emails, general other emails from the department, because it's the start of term and we need to get our remote learning package done. So lots of little admin things that end up taking a bit more time. But on the whole, actually, it's been easy going. Started off quite a lot and now it's sort of dipped a bit. So I know it's not always going to be super admin heavy, which is okay, I guess. Now, one of the things I had to get used to was the fact that I'm not always teaching science in a science lab. I'm teaching now in normal classrooms, which is so weird, and I guess weird for teachers of other subjects to be teaching their subjects in a science lab. It's a bit bizarre, but it's been interesting to teach in a room that has a different layout, that is a bit smaller, and I've realised that students actually focus better in the smaller classrooms, where they're facing the front and they're in lines, in rows, I mean. So I quite enjoy teaching them in that way. And the other thing that's changed is our whole projector network system is different. So we've got bigger screens now. They work slightly differently. They're sort of, you can touch them and actually put it on like a white screen and then write on it, which I haven't tried yet. But I've had to go around to all of the classrooms and re-log into the computers, because it's going to take forever to log in if I had to do it on the day with the class that I was teaching. So I went around, I did all of that, my seating plans, checked all of the IT was working, made sure my wheelchair students had tables for them in the classes, in the classrooms that they were going to be in, and that all took ages. Like, those were the first 3 days of school. So I had an inset day on Wednesday, then Thursday, and then Friday. Friday I welcomed my tutor group, and then Thursday we had Year 12 induction. But on the whole, I had loads of hours those first 3 days to just get myself ready and organised logistically with my, organisation system, seating plans, class information sheets, going around to the classrooms and putting exercise books in them, all of those little things that add up and take a long time for you to do if you're teaching. So that was really nice to have the time to do it, but I was really tired at the end of the day. So yeah, that was interesting. So yeah, on the whole, the first 2 weeks have been okay. It's taken some time to get used to the bubble system, the new rules of the school, where I'm supposed to be, my different classes, a different work system, different organisation system, which initially I had folders for each day, but now I've changed that so that the folders is for each year group. I think that's going to work much better, because some students who are absent from lesson and then are back in the lesson the next time I see them, they don't necessarily always have the things that we had in our previous lesson. They don't have it printed, so I like to have now the folder for the year group, so I can always give them just a spare worksheet, also for anyone who has forgotten their book or has lost the sheet. As much as I want students to be super organised, not all of them are, and I don't want them to miss out on the learning that takes place in the lesson. So having those resources there ready is really important, and I'm not teaching in one room, so I have to carry all of those things with me. So I have to be uber organised. But yeah, I think on the whole that's worked really well. I've also started my MA in education. I'm doing my 2nd year now, so we had our first session last week. That was really good, just to sort of get back into the swing of things, get my head around what I need to do, my reading, what coursework I've got coming up, and also start to think about my dissertation project. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to share with you guys today. I hope you've had a really good return back to school and that it's been a positive experience. And if it hasn't been positive, and if you've been frustrated with some of your colleagues, I did post a Be the Colleague You Want to Work With post on my Instagram, and I shared a few things that I've been really trying to do to be more positive and kind and respectful to others, by doing random acts of kindness that actually matter and have an impact on other teachers' well-being and on their day. So if you want to check that out, please do, but also share what things you've been struggling with and what things would help you, so that we can all be aware of it and support each other in the best way that is possible. So yeah, I guess that's it for today, guys, and yeah, I will see you guys next week, and have a lovely weekend and week ahead of you, and I'll catch you soon. Bye!